We have seen a lot of bad segments in the history of professional wrestling. Hell, we get treated to a lot of bad segments every single week, whether it be AEW, WWE, TNA, or some other indie promotion. But according to Eric Bischoff, what we've seen on Dynamite with Tony Khan is arguably the worst segment he has seen in 30 years. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. Eric Bischoff was on his podcast 83 Weeks, and he doesn't think this is the worst segment he's seen in 83 weeks. He went a little bit further than that. He said 30 years, and I just don't have the capability to work out how many weeks exactly that is off the top of my head, but it is a shitload. If you take 10 years, you've got 520 weeks. Then you take half of that, you would have, 260? So 260 weeks, add the 520, you're looking at, 780 weeks. So Bischoff thinks that this is the worst segment he has seen in 780 weeks of professional wrestling. Is Eric Bischoff telling the truth? I don't know. It was bad. People are saying it's not as bad as Katie Fick. I thought it was. I actually thought Katie Fick was funny. Don't get me wrong. I thought this was kind of funny too, but it was funny in a holy shit, I can't believe how bad it is kind of way. I wasn't laughing with it. I was certainly laughing at it. But Bischoff was laughing, whether he was laughing at it or laughing with it or whatever. He was laughing his ass off on his podcast 83 Weeks, and he said the following, quote, "They say imitation is a form of flattery. Not so much in this case. If they would have made it a parody of how the NWO started in my scene in Baltimore, where I got jackknife powerbombed off the stage and all that, if they would have set this whole scene up as a parody last night, I would have probably been all about it. I would have enjoyed it. At least it would have been entertaining. If Lorne Michaels and the team at Saturday Night Live was going to produce a wrestling skit on the beginning of the NWO, this would have been what they produced. It was so fucking bad. It was parody. It was comedy. And the really sad part is they're taking this seriously. They meant that this to be a serious angle. It was so fucking horrible from the beginning. This was without a doubt the worst, most horribly produced professional wrestling show for prime time on a major cable outlet in the last maybe forever years." End of quote. Now, he's saying this is the worst, most horribly produced professional wrestling show on prime time for the last forever years, but he did in another video and in another quote say this individual segment is the worst segment he has seen in 30 years. Now, that's got me thinking, what segments could he be talking about pre-1994 that was worse than this? I'm not saying there isn't segments worse than this, but I'm wondering why he draws the line at 1994. Probably because that's around the time he got involved in primetime wrestling, perhaps, so therefore he's using it as a reference point. But it was an awfully bad segment, and there might be worse segments than this, but you always take recent stuff. You know, you always remember recent stuff more than you will something that happened like 35, 40 years ago. And off the top of my head, this has to be the worst segment we've seen in a very long time. I don't think anything comes close. We get a shitload of bad segments every single week. There's no doubt about that. Raw does it, SmackDown does it, Dynamite does it, Collision does it, Rampage does it, NXT does it. But this one was so bad. This was cringy. And a lot of times we'll see those segments, especially NXT, they're going for this like corny thing with their segments. A lot of the shit in NXT is supposed to be that. You know, you're supposed to go, Jesus Christ, that was kind of bad. You know, it's like a corny atmosphere they've got. That's the kind of way they're trying to portray it. But with this Tony Khan ending at Dynamite, they legitimately wanted the Elite to be treated as serious bad guys that took out the owner of the company, and it just looked pathetic. You've got Tony Khan selling that punch. First of all, he gets punched in the guts or the rib or whatever, and then he goes down and he's laying flat on his back like he's legitimately dead, and then he takes like 3 seconds to roll onto his side and start holding his gut, and it was really bad. It was awful, and I'm not surprised Eric Bischoff has come out and buried this because it deserved to be buried. But Eric Bischoff wasn't done here. He also bashed Mercedes Mone. He said, for the love of God, nobody should be putting a microphone in Mercedes Mone's hands. And he said that she is the worst person on the mic in AEW that at least gets mic time. So Bischoff, not a fan of Mercedes Mone. I don't think she's been great since she came to AEW. She's known for being a great performer, not so much a great talker, but literally all she's done since come to AEW is talk, and she's completely shat the bed. I don't think anyone cares for Mercedes Mone right now. Her debut was lackluster, and everything she's done since then has just been boring. So yeah, it's a waste of time. Mercedes Mone was supposed to be a big deal, a game changer. She hasn't even really made a difference in AEW. It's even in the women's division, it doesn't feel new, it doesn't feel fresh, it doesn't feel like they've taken massive steps forward, you know, it just feels lackluster. Who knows, maybe that will change once she's cleared and she can wrestle in the ring. They might do more with her then, it's a possibility. But right now, Tony Khan, you are officially involved in arguably the worst segment ever in professional wrestling, so congratulations, and we'll see what he does going forward. Will we see the Tony Khan character on a full-time basis? I have a feeling we might. I think we might, because I'm pretty sure that final quarter went up in the ratings, that if Tony Khan thinks that he is a ratings draw, then I guarantee you we will probably see Tony Khan on Dynamite every single week, trying to get every single viewer he can. But yeah, let's see what happens. Catch you guys in the next one. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think it's the worst segment? If not, name me a segment that was worse than this. Do you think Katie Fick was worse than this Eric Bischoff, this Tony Khan segment, with the Elite? Let us know in the comments down below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, Bean Fog Wrestling, thanks for watching, and peace.